Come on in. Come on in for this special live stream presentation. We'll be having the executive director of Mississippi Association of Coaches, Johnny Mims, come on. So post your comments and we can ask him when he comes on. Hey, Thunder Williams, appreciate it. Yeah, this is I'm glad I was able to get him on today, and of course 5 o'clock in his schedule. You know, that's what we're trying to do, is to fit it into his schedule. Hopefully he'll be joining us here. I'll just come in to set it up and have to see how long he is. But we're going to talk about, as you can see, the all-star selection. I know every year there's players that should be in. I don't think there's a year since I've been doing this, which is 2005 when I started broadcasting, that, I mean, you're going to have players that are going to be left off. That's just unfortunate. I don't believe there's a year that fans said, they got it right, everybody's on there. No, they're limited. Now it is seniors. It is just seniors, but there's still a lot of seniors in the state. And so to select from, but we're going to get with, again, Johnny Mims. I met him a few times at the state championship games, his executive director. I reached out to him, to the MACC headquarters, say, hey, can you have somebody come on and talk to him around lunchtime? He said, man, I'm an open book. I'll come on there and answer questions and ask. So that's what we're here for. And that's what I'm here for. I somewhat know how the process goes, but I want to let him speak about how the process goes. And then, of course, in 2 hours is the game predictions every Thursday at 7. Normally tonight I'm calling Gulf Coast football, but they're off this week. So lucky for me, I got a Thursday night. They'll be back the next 4 weeks on Thursdays. So this is a special preview. I may go live for game predictions if there's enough interest. I don't know. I still may go live at 7 to give you like the top 10 game predictions for this week 6. So we're just waiting, or I'm waiting for Johnny Mims. I sent him the link. So waiting for him to join. Appreciate everybody. So get your questions ready after I ask him a few questions. We will ask him your questions. I know this is, like I say, an odd time at 5 o'clock, but that's when it can fit into his schedule. So get your questions ready, as he should be coming on here shortly. Again, Johnny Mims, 24 years. I suggest you follow their website. Well, they got a website, but the MACC, which is Mississippi Association of Coaches, on X and then on Facebook. So that's what we're prepped for him to come on and ask him, and he is coming on. So let's there it goes. Let me see. You have your mic unmuted? Let me see.
Can you hear me?
You must have your mic on. You must have your mic muted.
It's not. Let's see.
I can't hear you. It should be a little button right there that has a microphone.
Yeah, it's not
symbol.
red.
See, I see it crossed. I see it. Yours is X'd out. So you have your microphone muted. It's still muted. Let me see if I can't remember. Yes, they chose to mute themselves. Oh, so it is saying that you muted your mic. So just press it one more time.
All right. How about now?
No, I cannot hear. Now, Thunder, I don't have it's showing here. The mic is not muted on my end. Then when I muted it, it showed that he had his mic muted.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
You can. Can you hear me, Johnny?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Let me see what the deal is.
I can hear you.
Okay. So maybe my Bluetooth is not gonna. I bet you I know what it needs to do. I bet you I know what it needs to do. Is to put my Bluetooth on via my computer. Let me see. It's connecting. So we may have to go without my Bluetooth. As long as you can hear me, that's fine. Yes, I can hear you, and you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So
okay,
I have to correct it. But anyways, I certainly appreciate you joining us today. There, Mr. Johnny Mims, Executive Director of the MACC, as I call it, the Mississippi Association of Coaches. And you've been there, you said 24 years at the same position there at MACC?
That's it. Yes, sir. 24 years.
Man, that's a long time. I mean, obviously a long time, and I know that you must enjoy it, obviously, to be there.
I'm dating myself right now, so. But yeah, it's been a good 24 years. Enjoyed it. We've obviously come a long way, and proud of the association, proud of our coaches in the state. That's what we are. We're a coaches association, and we're out to try to do anything we can to help promote our coaches and put on clinics during the year to help them further their knowledge in whatever they're coaching, and help them stay certified, and hopefully just give them some advice to keep them out of trouble if we have to. Of course, as you well know, these changing times. I remember when we first started, we would get some of our coaches to bring our kids to all-star games and drop them off. And of course, nowadays you can't even do that. So I could talk all day about that, but I know that's not why we're here.
Yeah. Yes, sir. We're gonna like to welcome the fans who are coming in. They have their questions, but I do have questions. We're talking about the all-star selections. Of course, that was just made this past week, a day ago, for Mississippi Alabama game and the North-South Bernard Blackwell game. So we're going to pull back the curtain on some of it and let the fans and players, even parents, have questions about it. They'll post on there. My question, which I have about 5 or 6 questions. You let me know when you have to go, Mr. Sims. I know you're on the road and going to a game.
Okay.
But as far as just the process, to let the fans know from the basic process, here we just elected the All-Stars for this year, for 2025. So let's go into 2026. What is the process here after? When do they get together for 2026, let's say, which they just did it for 2025, but let's start with 2026. So when does it start? Who picks the coaches?
We won't get together until March of 2026 to start. The coaches would get together on the 26th. We have a committee, and we've got each district and each representative. Some of them are on our board. If they're elected from their district to be on our board, they would serve on the football committee. And if we do not have a representative on our board, then we go out and try to get somebody from each district and each representative to serve on our football committee. I think we have about 24 or 25 coaches and from our committee. And from those coaches, that's kind of where we start the process. In March, we will open up the process, and any coach, we send out emails, text messages. Of course, we use our Twitter account, any social media account that we have. And we get to the ADs and coaches and say, hey, if you're interested in coaching the All-Star game for next year, please go in there and fill out the form, and we will know that you're interested in coaching in the game. Of course, you have to have certain criteria to coach, and that's in our handbook. That's that's online if somebody wants to go in there and look at it. But I think it's more like you have to have been a head coach for 3 consecutive years or 3 years in the MHSAA, and just little things like that. But yeah, we basically let our coaches apply. I call it apply, but they nominate or send in their form that they would be eligible to coach in, and we look at the pool of coaches, and from there they decide, in order to be a head coach in the Bernard Blackwell, we'll start with that one. You would have had to have been an assistant coach first. So once you're an assistant, it qualifies you for a Bernard Blackwell head job. And then in order to be a head coach in the Mississippi-Alabama game, you would have had been a head coach in the Bernard Blackwell. And so anyway, that's just some of the criteria that was set before our board to be able to be qualified for the coaches, the coach to qualify to be able to coach a team. That's a process in its own, but once we decide or they decide on the coaches, then we look at that and say, okay, we've even had some coaches that would qualify, say for a South coach, and when the school was out, they decided to leave that school and go north, and we've had to make changes for a North coach since he won't be coaching in the South anymore. So there's good and bad and everything, obviously. So we've had to make some adjustments with that, with the way the coaches sometimes leave and go to other schools. But with that, we elect our coaches, and then once we elect our coaches, then they start the process of basically what they do is they start calling the junior college coaches in the state of Mississippi. With that, some of the senior college coaches, and I will say the head coaches of senior colleges, you're probably not going to get to, but they'll call their high school relations guy at the senior colleges, and even some of the coaches in the colleges or D1s. I'm saying Ole Miss, Mississippi State, I'll use them. And then they'll give us basically a recruiting list that they've had that they're looking at. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go and sign them and offer them a scholarship, but it gives our coaches just kind of a base list to start with. With that, once they take that, again, I jumped the gun. Our coaches, each coach that is selected is a head coach, but the head coach in turn will take each head coach that's under him. There's 7 assistants, and like one of them will be the running backs coach or the offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. So once they determine on what positions the coach is going to coach, then that's when they each one of them start kind of focusing in on whatever they're coaching. If they're coaching the quarterbacks, they'll get a list of quarterbacks, and then they'll start doing the process of elimination, so to speak. And that's not really any elimination during July. They're basically just forming a list. And then from there, they just start watching film, game film, and calling coaches around that have played against them, and doing everything they can to do a background. Unfortunately, I'll tell you, we've missed some kids before. When I say miss them, they want them, or they wanted to pick them, but unfortunately there was a problem at the school, or they were not in good standing, so to speak, is what we call. We had a couple of that on this year that basically probably would have picked that. I don't vote myself, but I'm the one that conducts the meetings, and I can see where I think it was a few of them this year, a couple of them that they would have liked to taken, but unfortunately that was not the case. They could not have taken them because of some other reasons, not necessarily athletically or their ability. But anyway, that's what they do. They go from there, and then they start narrowing the list down, and they start calling and talking and doing everything they can. And you know, I'm gonna be honest with you. It is these coaches don't get paid to do this. I mean, they're at the whole time they're doing this, they're trying to coach their own team, their own respective team, and you know, they're putting in a lot of time and effort for something that they just want to do. And but they give it all. They do everything they can to try to pick the right players. And you know, it all boils down to is you know, these coaches are not perfect. They miss them. They'll tell you they miss them. We've you know, you can look back and see some of the players. I was just talking to a guy earlier today. The leading rusher in the SEC right now is his name is Ahmad. Let's see. He played from Lawrence County. Ahmad Hardy. They did not even pick him in the Mississippi-Alabama game 2 years ago. He was a running back from Lawrence County, and now he's the leading rusher in the SEC at Missouri. And so there's instances like that. Garner Minshew played in this Bernard Blackwell game. So, you know, for me to sit here and tell you that our coaches are perfect and that they're going to make every decision and pick every right player, we know that's not going to happen. But it is a process that they use. They will admit it. You know, they're gonna miss some, unfortunately. And sometimes our rules will dictate who they have to pick. If they'll look at our rules, and like the Mississippi-Alabama game, we can only pick 42 players. We have to have a player from each district represented. We have to have a player from each classification represented. We can only pick a certain amount of position players. And it's tough. And these players, I mean, these coaches will tell you when you start having to pick, you know, 2 quarterbacks is all they allow you. And you start looking, I know last year was a very, very tough year on quarterbacks. And, you know, you start this year, I think there was a really big group of offensive linemen that they had. And, but you know, when you start doing that and you start looking at the numbers of what they had to do, I mean, they're in there saying, okay, we're missing a 2A player. We've got to go get a 1A player. We got to go to a 3A player. And then all of a sudden it kicks some player out. It's a process. It's a tough process. But again, I will tell you, I take up for my coaches, I guess, because I'm in there with them. They have met countless number of times. They just didn't show up the day of the press conference and pick the players. They put countless number of meetings together. I would venture to say that the Mississippi-Alabama staff, Ryan Ernest from Law is the head coach this year. And I bet you he met at least a dozen times their staffs, whether it be in person or a Zoom call, to be able to talk about, their players and who they're going to pick. And again, I can keep going, and I want to open this up for some questions because, we're very transparent. We have nothing to hide. We have no agenda at the office. At the end of the day, I don't think I've ever had a coach that does not want to pick the best players to win the ball game. I can tell you, they all want to win. They're all competitive. And after the ball game or something happens, they may tell you, hey, we missed a player or we missed on this player. And so I'm sorry I went so long, but that's where we're going to get started.
No, that's no problem. I wanted to circle back around as far as the players. You mentioned, Ole Miss and Mississippi State, for example. You say you get a list from them? You get a list of players from them who's on the top, or coaches don't nominate their own players, or?
No, well, that's no. That's the horse another color. Yes, okay. We do get a list. We do get a list from these colleges. Okay. And usually when you get the list, I'm going to tell you 95% of the names on one or on the other one. I can tell you there's no hidden jewels anymore, as you can know, with social media and all the stuff out there. So they're basically all kind of the same. Okay. Yes. To answer your question, the head coach of each team, first of all, has to be a member of the Mississippi Association of Coaches. I would venture to say that about 80% of the schools, their schools pay their dues for them, only a lot of times for the insurance. Each coach gets $1 million or $2 million liability policy that carries with them throughout the season and also during the summer, whether they're coaching 7-on-7s, and now it's a 365 a day policy because we have coaches coaching all in the summer now. So I would say a lot of them join, for that purpose. And as you know, in this Sue Happy world that we're in now. To answer your question, yes, the head coach of each team has to nominate their player. They have even come to me before and said, hey, can we change this? And
okay. We'll see if we can get Mr. Johnny back on to finish up this special all-star selection. That's what I heard. You hear that not all coaches have to be a member of the MACC, and not all coaches are a member of the MACC. And then he also pointed out that some players were selected, but yet maybe grades, something happened in school. We don't know. We don't know their personal life, or at least I don't. I mean, personally, some players, people may know, but that's why they may not be selected because of school reasons. Also, the coach may not be a member of MACC, the Mississippi Association of Coaches there. And again, he may be just in a place. He was on his way, obviously, to a game. So I was hoping to get, obviously, more questions on there from him. Again, Johnny Mims, because I did have more questions, trying to finalize and trying to bring it to you guys, the fans, on some of these questions. Yeah, Eddie, I understand. We're just starting to get into the questions of that. But he was explaining the process of when they start in March, selecting the coaches, how you have to be a member of the Mississippi game, Alabama game. You had to have been a head coach of Bernard Blackwell. So that's stuff I didn't know. And I'm sure it's in the rules there, like you said, or the guidelines of the website. But, certain things that he said, that's why we got him on here, to inform us. And I'm hoping that he just may be in the area. I might have to see if I can see if he's able to come back on, because I certainly was not done. So trying to text him to see if he can somehow come back on. But again, we were getting the ins and outs of how the process is in March. They start next year, they start in March as they do every year. So he says he will be able to come back on. So once he comes on in the backstage in the green room, we will certainly bring him back on. If you have any questions, do post. I see, like I say, Eddie posted a question. If you have any questions, of course, we're all on X at Coast Football, on my YouTube page. I'm there. And, of course, on Facebook page. This is Coast Football live stream. And trying to bring you, interviews like this. We may go live at 7 o'clock tonight to bring you the game predictions, as everybody looks forward to. And, again, the reason I'm able to do that tonight, Gulf Coast is off this week. I call the analyst, and there he is right there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. I'm sorry.
No. That's no problem. It happens with the internet and stuff. But where I was leaving Ra's leaving off. As far as I know you said, like I said, the coaches, nominate their players on their team. It's a combination, from what I understand, from what you're saying, and how do players get nominated from state schools and from the actual high school themselves, their coaches. Is that how?
Well, the only way they're nominated is through their high school, through their coach, their head coach.
Okay. All right. What and I know, and while you were off, I was telling the fans there that, again, the coaches have to be part of MACC, which is somewhat, some coaches are not, I guess you're saying, are not part of it. So they can't,
right.
That might be a reason. And of course, a player may have school issues, unfortunately, that people I know about. Say, why ain't this player in there? Well, he's not with school issues. Does a player, as far as what he does, like, obviously they don't know, it's seniors only in these two games. Have to be a senior.
Yes.
The last year, previous years, do they look at that? What this guy did as a junior, rushing for 2,000 yards, or this player did this? Do they look at the big picture, or they just look? I mean, what do they look at in that?
Again, each set of coaches are different, and I've been doing this so long. We've got some coaches that are going to go back to when they were in the 10th grade. We have some coaches that are going to say, hey, this player is committed to Ole Miss, and we're going to take him. If he's good enough to play at Ole Miss, he's good enough to play on this team. Yet we've had other coaches say, you know what? He may be good enough to play at Ole Miss, but he's not good enough to play at Ole Miss right now. They're signing him as a project. They want to get him up there and put him on a weight program. And 2 years down the road, he's going to be a player. And we've had coaches say that, and we respect that. So, and the coaches and some of the junior college coaches would even say, hey, he's a player. That you see less of that now because of the new era with NIL, the days of these people signing and going up there and redshirting and getting on in the old-fashioned way, like me and you know of, and 2-3 years down the road be a player. I think those days are over with. Unfortunately, they'll let those kind of kids now go to a junior college and then see if they're going to pan out in 2 years, and then go to these college coaches now. They're living on year to year. They're not, unfortunately, and I say this, I'm a coach's guy, but unfortunately at that level, these coaches now, there may not be a next year for them if they don't win. So a lot of them they're not trying to build a program. I heard the head coach from Southern on radio yesterday, and they interviewed him, and they asked him about on bye week, and he said, on bye week, we used to take our 2s and 3s and let them get a lot of repetitions and try to get them ready. But now that has changed. They don't do that anymore because those 2s and 3s are probably going to jump in the portal anyway. So why should I practice them and get them better for somebody else to pick up in the portal? So I've seen all of this change so much in the last at least 3 or 4 or 5 years. It's changed so much. But, getting back on the All-Star, we don't want to get off of the subject here. But, again, it's a tough process, and they do the best they can. And, do we hear flack from someone that doesn't get on it or that should have got on it or what? Yes, we do. We're not trying to say that we don't hear that. We wish we could pick every one of them. At the end of the day, they can only pick so many, like we talked about. There's always going to be some that's left out, unfortunately. When you got that many, football in Mississippi is a very rich game. A lot of talent in this state, and for us to be able to, do what we do, we're fortunate. And again, there's examples that they look back and the coaches said, "Man, I wished I would have had that player on our team when the game was over with." But they didn't make that decision for whatever. You have coaches that are run happy more than pass happy. So they're looking at linemen that can run block better than they can pass block. You've got some that are pass happy that don't care nothing about run. I can tell you a jillion different ways. If you're a coach, you understand what I'm saying. But each coach has the ability to set his own offense up the way we have it. And let me say this to y'all too: the games have rules and the rules sometimes dictate the players that they pick. Uh, we can't in the Miss Al game. There's no such thing as a blitzing linebacker. You can't blitz linebacker. You can't rush ends. You have to play a certain kind of defense. So they're looking for you know a different kind of linebacker where you may want a linebacker that's going to plug the hole in the middle. In those games, you're looking more for linebackers that can run and cover space and cover people coming out of the backfield. And I mean, again, I can get into all that, but that's just, that's the
Well, I'm
nature of
just
the
saying,
game.
it's always a matter who the head coach is and how he wants to run his scheme. If he's the head
Exactly.
coach and he's the offensive player, so he's this player over here that has
Exactly.
stats is so great, he may take this lesser player stat wise because he fits what he sees, what he wants to do in the All-Star game. So
Yes, sir.
and is that somewhat how it goes there? And the
Yes, sir.
structure for each game you mentioned, because I see on the Mississippi Alabama there's 2 running backs. Is there a structure for both All-Star games where you have to have at least 2 running backs or 4 linebackers? You just can't. You can have as many different positions. You just can't have over 42 players as in the
You
Miss
can't
Al
pick.
game.
Yeah, the rule says you can't pick but 2 running backs.
Man, what
Now,
about
let me
North
now
South
let me
game?
let me say this to you.
Uh,
I think ours are more lenient in our state games. We kind of let them dictate. But again, let me say this to you. Our coaches are smart enough, and believe me, Alabama is too. If they want to take 3 running backs, they're going to name one of those. They're going to name another running back, a linebacker, or a D end, or they're going to get who they want. Okay, I've seen them pick 3 quarterbacks, and it wasn't supposed to pick but 2, and they put one quarterback listed as an athlete. So there's ways to get around it, and in fact, we're in the process now of trying to change it and go, hey, pick 42 players. If you want to pick 42 quarterbacks, then go pick 42 quarterbacks. We don't care. My thing is, why are we making our coaches? I don't want to say the word cheat because they don't cheat,
yeah,
but they're making the rules, swaying it to where they can get, and they're gonna get who they want in some way or form of a fashion. Like we used to have 40 players up until 2 years ago. And now they're saying, okay, now we went and agreed, both states agreed to go with 42, where they could go a long snapper, a kicker, and a punter, because everybody is doing it. Well, that all sounded good, but now we've got them picking kicker and punter combo, and then not even taking a long snapper, taking somebody else that long snap for a team that wasn't just a long snapper. So they, at the end of the day, they just got 2 more players on their team, through that rule. So it just happens like that. Yes, sir.
What about the North South game? Is there limitations on that as far as player wise, how many can be picked?
Yeah. Bernard Blackwell again is is our game. Our board dictates what we can do with that. We just increased our roster from 40. I think it was 2 years ago. We went from 40 players per team to 45. So we've got 45 players each on the North and South. And with that, our board wanted us to add that. Of course, we had to have 3. Now it's 5 more. They wanted to add. There's a rule that says they have to have 8 of those 45 players have to be a 1A, 2A, or 3A player. And they were doing that because a lot of our smaller schools were being overlooked by our larger schools, which you can understand. And our smaller schools were paying dues, being members, and all that like everybody else. And so they said we've got to kind of put some guarantees, because we can say, well, if the North wanted to go get some 1, 2, 3A play, and there's some great 1, 2, 3A players out there now. Don't get me wrong, but if it comes down to a coach, is he going to take the 1A player that's a good player? Or is he going to take the 7A player from, if you're on the coast, from Gulfport? I mean, they're going to take usually the player that's the 7A player, because they feel like he's been in more battles and done that, which, I can see that. So yes, we do have, to answer your question. I didn't mean to get off track on you, but yes, sir, we do have rules in the Bernard Blackwell game of who they can pick, how many they can pick. We're a little bit more lenient on positions there. Um, let me see what else I can tell you about that.
Well, have you ever thought about any thought about splitting it, like have two All-Star games, class 1 through 4, and then 5, 6,
Yes, sir.
7?
Yes, sir. There's talk with that, and within our board now, it's been going on. I want to say we're in the second year of discussions about that. We're doing some background. I think the state of Georgia did that about 4 years ago, and they're be honest with you, the guy over there is a friend of mine. We had him on a Zoom call about a year and a half ago. The quality of their game went down. They're not very happy with that. They're actually getting away from it this year and going back to one. It does again open up another 45 players. The problem we have with that is most of your 1, 2, 3A schools are in North Mississippi. There's not really a lot of 1, 2, 3A schools in the South Side, and in the South Side of Mississippi, and but when you start doing that, it diminishes your product, so to speak, of the game. But yes, that's something that we're debating, that we're talking about. I'm the kind of guy, I'm not going to just say, hey, we're not going to do it. We've done it, and we do it in basketball now. To be honest with you, sometimes we struggle in our all-star basketball game. Sometimes we don't even have enough. Well, you say you pick 12 players in 1, 2, 3A South, and we have 15 players nominated. And to me, that's not really they don't know that, but at the end of the day, we're picking 12, and to me, that's kind of diminishing. But we're surviving with that because picking 12 versus 45 is a little bit different. So. Yes, sir.
Yeah. What as far as the just I guess after on the coaches select Mississippi Alabama game and then the North South, I know there's two separate coaching staffs. Who picks, who goes first per se? I mean, does Mississippi say they're picking their game for Alabama, and then you guys can have like I won't say leftovers, but I'm just curious, how do they do that?
Yeah. Well, what happens is we're all in the room together, and even those Bernard Blackwell coaches sometimes help with input with the missile and with the missile players. They pretty well know, and they need to know who they pick and who they're discussing. So yes, they're in the process with that. But to answer your question, Mississippi Alabama has first choice. Uh, the Bernard Blackwell will take. I don't want to say what's left, but they would take the other good players that are there. And I will tell you this: last year we had 7 players. I looked it up because I knew I was going to be talking to you. Last year we had 7 players that were picked in the Mississippi Alabama game between October the 2nd, which when we had it last year, we picked them. And when by the time we played, we had 7 players that got hurt and could not play in the ball game, and 7 of those players were replaced from. I think we picked 5 in the South, and 2 of them came from the North team, which means the Bernard Blackwell had to reach back and pick up players that they do. So to answer your question, Mississippi Alabama has first right of refusal on all of them. And if somebody gets hurt, they can go and take a player off of that roster.
Okay, but the coaches are all in the same room when they're picking it.
Oh yeah,
when do they do that, on a certain day every year?
On a certain day we do it. We try to do it on a day that all the coaches can meet. Perfect world, they would probably all be there, but in most cases, like when Mississippi picks their team, you're probably saying, I'm going to say all, but maybe 1 or 2 was in there. So the majority of them are in there, and that they're trying to do the right. And I think, again, let me say this: I think all of our coaches, and if they can prove me wrong, then I need to revisit what I'm doing. But I think all our coaches have the best interest of what they're trying to do. I don't know that there's any agendas out there of any of the coaches. Do they lean towards a certain player versus another one? I'm sure they do, whether it's their own player or whether it's a player that they were able to play against that had a hell of a game against them, that that beat them, and that a good player when they play them. I'm sure some of that comes into effect. I'm not going to sit here and be naive and say I don't think any of that happens. It's going to happen, and we know that. But I would like to think at the end of the day that and I'll use Ryan Ernest for an example this year. He happens to be our head coach for the Mississippi-Alabama game, which is the head coach at Laurel. I think he wants to win that ball game, and I think he's going to go to war with who he thinks are the best players for him to win that ball game. And hopefully, he's done the right thing. Now, is him and his staff at the end of the day, if we go and not win the ball game or somebody has a ball game and they look back and go, well, you know what, I maybe made a mistake. Yes, that's going to happen. It happens every year. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast in this. But I like to say that they're all going into it with thinking that they want to pick their best players to win that ball game for what they want to do in the ball game. I will tell you this about Ryan. Ryan got the film from last year's game from me in July, and he studied Alabama of what they did last year versus the schemes that they were running their defense and stuff against us. And that's kind of how he come up with what he was going to do this year, because basically they really do the same thing every year. So he's really the first one that's really, done that side of it and thinking, what can we do what do we need to defend this and defend that and go and do that. So again, a lot of respect for my coaches. They're taking a lot of heat this time of year. As you well know, they didn't pick little Johnny to be on the team. They get it. They knew that going in. They know the good part, the good things about it, the bad things about it. I don't know that they did not pick anybody on a personal issue that I know of. I just think at the end of the day, they picked who they thought was the best that they could get. And I don't care. You could go and pick, I told somebody the other day, you go pick, Joe Namath as a quarterback, which some of your listeners may not know who Joe Namath is. And somebody's going to say, why did they pick him? So, but that's the nature of the beast, and that's what they do for a living every day. I tell everybody, if you're a coach in high school now, and that's what I go and talk to them. If you're a coach in high school now, and if you're a football coach, every mom and daddy wants you to play the 10 best players and their son. If you're a basketball coach, they want you to play the 4 best players and their son or daughter. So that's just that's the world we live in now.
Yes, yeah. So just to wrap up here as far as the timeline, because some fans,
Yes,
just as far as, so in March the coaches are picked, and then when are the players? When do they actually select the players? Because here we are 5 weeks in, and don't they select them like 1 or 2 weeks into the season, or that's what the belief is, or they? Because they're not looking at just this year's stats. They can look at all the way, like you said, the 9th, 10th grade stats, on the players,
Well, to answer your question, we pick them. Alabama actually picked theirs the day before we did this year. So we picked ours on Wednesday. They picked theirs on Tuesday. So they have the same process we do. Now, in the perfect world, yes. And why don't we play the whole season and get through the season and pick them in the weekend before December? Unfortunately, we can't do that. Both associations can't do that. We have to order uniforms. We have to order jerseys. We have to order all this gear that we give them. We have to schedule. I mean, it's a lot of things that goes on behind the scenes that, as you well know, that we have to do. We have to do rosters. We have to do programs, on and on and on that we do. So, but yes, that's the only way we've been doing it like this. I say this, in June of 2012 was the last game the Mississippi-Alabama played in July. We used to play the game in July. The NCAA passed a new rule that allowed our seniors to be able to go to summer school and them pay for it. So that year we lost a lot of the all-stars of reporting going to their first semester in college in July, 1st of July. And so we lost the players, and that's when we agreed with the state to move the game to the week after our state championships in December. It's really been a good move for us. The kids are still in football shape, and it gives them an opportunity to do that. And of course, nowadays we've even had some prime example, Ryan Williams, that's playing for Alabama now. He reclassified 2 years ago as a junior, played in the Mississippi Alabama game over here 2 years ago, and the next year he was playing at Alabama. Uh, so yeah, they leave in January, I guess is what I'm saying. So moving the game to December has really been a good thing. I tell everybody it's kind of saved the All-Star game, and we have the longest intrastate All-Star game right now between two states consecutive years of anybody in the United States now. We used to be, second, I think, but we had two states that didn't play the year of COVID, and we did play. We made it work and did the thing in COVID. So, but, something that we're proud of, both states are proud of, and, we're always trying to critique it. We're always trying to make it better. To say that we're perfect, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that by no means. We'd love, again, we give our coaches a lot of input in this. I have the I guess the good fortune of being able to lead us and direct us, but I think every coach will tell you I am going to listen to them, and I'm going to do what they think's best for the game and for the sport, and if I can make a change and we can do something to make it better, I'm going to try to do it my best. And unfortunately, this is the time of year that we do get phone calls. I do have been getting texts. I've been getting emails. Why didn't little Johnny make it? And, he's the best player in here, and he's this and he's that. And, and I get it. I understand that. I promise you. I told somebody today, I had a son that played, not that this makes any difference, but I had a son. Of course, he's older now, but he was a leading tackler. Played linebacker we're from Vicksburg at Warren Central High School, and he was nominated by his coach and my boy did not make the Miss Al team, nor did he make the Bernard Blackwell team. And you're talking about a hard decision, a hard hard thing to do. When I drove home that night, walked in the kitchen and tell my wife that my own son didn't make it. But it is what it is. I look back on it, and he it all worked out for him, and went to school, and now he's married and got two healthy kids and making a good living, and life goes on. So, but we understand that. I've been there and done that, and hopefully everybody can. Nobody's going to ever see eye to eye. We know that, and we understand that. And unfortunately, that's what we do. And I've probably made, again, 132 families happy, or they have made them happy. Unfortunately, we made some that's not happy. And that's just the nature of what we do, unfortunately.
Yes, yeah. Especially like say at the end of the season when they say, this player rushed for 2,000 yards, he should have been on. Well, that's through the whole season, the cutoff. So when actually the cutoff time for them to submit a player for a nomination for All-Stars?
We'll take a nomination up until the day they pick them. We don't try to, and I'll tell you this. If the coach is coaching the team, and let's say he's coaching the linebackers, he's looking at that list. We're sending them updated list from the office every week of updated people that have been nominated. And if a coach knows there's a good linebacker from, say, Biloxi, and he's coaching the linebackers, he can look at that list. He may not know that kid's name, but if he looks at that list and he sees there's nobody been nominated from Biloxi or whatever school you want to use, and, he has the right to call that coach and say, hey, coach, I'm thinking about taking little Johnny. You may want to go ahead and nominate him, get him nominated, so that happens. So we don't try to hide that. We've had other coaches call some of our coaching staff and say, hey, I'm going to nominate little Johnny. Y'all take a good look at him. Y'all take a hard look at him, So, it goes both ways. And unfortunately, we have some coaches out there that are very passive. They don't care about nominating players. They don't think it's their responsibility, which I don't agree with. They they don't do some of the things that I wish they could do, or that I would, want them to do. And unfortunately, sometimes we have to pull teeth to get some of them to do things. And, there's some players that was not picked. I'm going to just tell this on air. There were some players not picked, and the reason they wasn't picked, they wasn't nominated.
I was gonna ask you.
And
Of course, you can't say if there was any
no,
coach teams out of the 25
no,
coach teams.
no. And I'm not going to throw. That's one thing they'll say in my 24, almost 25 years here. I'm not going to throw my coaches under the bus.
Oh, no,
I'm not.
no. I don't want you to name
Yeah,
names or schools,
yeah,
but I don't know if you
right.
can even say that as far as do all the 24 coach teams have the coaches? Are they all part of the MACC, or can you even say, because you're saying not all member of the
Yes.
MACC you can nominate?
Well, I'm going to answer that honestly. I really don't know. Okay, for me to sit here and tell you that, I don't know. We've got 8,700 or better coaches that are members. Again, for a coach not to be a member in 2025, to pay the dues are $70 for a year. For 1 year, it gives them the right to coach in an all-star game. It gives them the right to receive coaching awards and state championship awards and attend our clinics and get in our all-star games free. Some cases even let you in Southern Mississippi's games if you show them our card. So, there's some perks about being that other than just the insurance side. So for a coach not to be a member, shame on them. But again, I try to do everything I can to entice it. And let me say this last thing. When it's time for nominations, I'll give you a prime example. We're fixing to send out nominations next week for volleyball. The time to nominate volleyball all-stars. We will send out every coach that's a member of our association a link and say, hey, it's time to nominate your players, whether it be by email or whether it be by text message. Okay. So we're going to do that. Now, if you're not a member of us, we don't have your stuff in our database, so we can't send it to you. But to cover that, we also duplicate what we send to every athletic director in that school.
Yeah.
So we want the athletic directors to know and what's going on. In fact, we've had a couple of coaches a couple of years ago got relieved of his duties because the athletic director found out that he did not nominate kids. And I think in their deal and they were very, very hurt that happened. So again, we're not here to hurt anybody. We're not here to do anything. The All-Star game is a privilege. We want our coaches to think that's a privilege. We want them to come. If we bring them to the coast, hey, we want them to have a good time. They've got enough problems at home with their own respective schools and what's going on in the school. So we want them to come down there, coach good players, but eat good seafood, have a good time. And sit there and mingle and talk to other coaches, that they maybe even played against each other in a state championship or a district championship 2 weeks earlier or something.
Yeah, and we're certainly glad, down in the backyard in Gulfport, it's been down there for so many years playing. It's going to be there this year. I don't know if there's outlook if it's going to be there for so many years, but we'll take it this year as it has been, there at Milner Stadium.
Well,
so
the Gulf Coast. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Well, the Gulf Coast has been good to us. Gulfport High School has been tremendous to us. All those schools down there have been great to our association, and they know us. They know what we stand for, and it's kind of, be honest, it's kind of revitalized our Bernard Blackwell game. I know your listeners don't want to hear this, but to be honest with you, our Bernard Blackwell game is put together and done almost as good, if not better, than the Mississippi-Alabama game. And, we do some great things down there. We don't take it lightly. And again, a lot of these players down there that you will see on the coast, a lot of these players you will see at the next level, down the road. And we take pride in that.
Yeah, and I know some fans and some think that, well, if I'm not on Mississippi Alabama All-Star team, the North South is not as as
Right.
great. I mean, no, it's still great to be on an all-star team, regardless if it's
Well,
north south or Miss Al
yeah.
game. You know,
Well, I can tell you this, and I left it at my office, and I'm upset, but maybe we can do this again. But I'd love to read a list out to you that players that played in the Bernard Blackwell game that did not even have an offer, and after the ball game, they picked up an offer at a college that that they wanted to go and play at. So
that's
there's some upside in this that it ain't all doom and gloom playing in a North South All Star game. I can tell you, and so we take a lot of pride in what we do, and we're not ashamed to say, just like I told you, the leading rusher in the SEC right now, again, played from Lawrence County, did not even make our Mississippi Alabama game, and now he's not only a rusher in the SEC, in fact he got his scholarship to ULM because of the Bernard Blackwell game. And now he ended up in the NIL and transfer portal and ended up being in the running back for Missouri. So there's some great success stories out there that we have that we take a lot of pride in. And, we're just glad that we're able to do it. And we're glad we're able to, people like, the Gulf Coast, the Gulfport school system, Ocean Springs has been good to us. Biloxi's been good to us. Those teams, those schools down there have really been good to us, and we're just blessed that we're able to, to be able to have another All-Star game.
Yes, and like I say, well, I guess we'll have to see if you are going to split it up, to 1 through 3 or 4, and then 7, 6,
Right.
7, 4, 5, 7. So I know you.
Right.
I know I have a fan that wanted to come on, but I know you're fixing to have to be.
Let him come on. No, I'm okay. Let him come on. I don't have an agenda. I'd love to. I got about another 10 minutes.
Let me see if. Let me see if I can. Because I'm kind of. Let me see. Let me do it this way. Let me see.
You're a lot more tech savvy than I am.
Yeah, I'm trying. Let me see. Let me get your name, David. See if I can send.
My bad.
And
Our logo, left sidewalk.
Ainsworth. Let me see right here. Let me see if this works. Control. Oh no! Wait, David. Well, I'm gonna put it on the stream to see if he'll see if that'll get him on there. See if that'll bring him on. David, if you're listening to that stream, if you click on that link, I should be able to get you on this if you're able to, or text me your phone number. I know, like I say, Johnny's going to be having to get off here. He's been coming up on an hour. Certainly appreciate coming on there and asking and the fans. But
Yes, sir.
Yeah, come on. And Johnny, we might have lost Johnny. Let me see. Hopefully we can get him back on.
Teammate, set it out, set it out, set it out, set it out. Set it
I
out.
sent you to Johnny. I mean David. See if that.
Set it out.
Say if that works, David.
Left sidewalk.
Well,
You got me again?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I text David. Did you get the? I texted to him. Oh, there we go.
Yes, sir. I
So
texted
there we go.
David. Did you get the? I texted to him.
Let me see. Why is it? Can you hear me, Dave?
Yep, I'm in. Oh, there he is.
Okay.
There we go.
There's Dave. I don't know why I can hear echo. So there you go, Mr. Johnny Mims. This is David with Biloxi.
Yes, sir, Mr. David. Can I help you?
Well, it can't help me anymore. But I mean, I've heard a little bit of the explanation you've given on your selection process. But I think I'm as you see my screen name right there right now, and everybody's gonna say this is just sour grapes or whatever. You got a kid that ranks ahead of other selections on your team on every ranking site there is, all district, first team, MVP, gets selected by people that don't carry half the resume. He's done it in 2 years as opposed to 3 years. A reclassification, signed to a P4 team already, or committed at least. There's no explanation for other than what's perceived as backroom politics. Just gonna call it what it is. That would leave a kid like that with that resume off the team. How do you defend that?
Well, what position is this, David?
Offensive tackle. My son,
Okay.
his names were 4-star offensive tackle, Biloxi High School, originally a class of 2027, reclassed in 2026, signed with Nebraska. You know, what kind of justification is that?
Well, I'm not going to sit here and say anything because I don't know anything about even the offensive people they picked. Again, I just conduct the meeting and I'm the director. All I can say is that the offensive coach, the offensive line coach, and I don't even know who that is. Did he have a player make it that you're questionable? Why that person made it?
There's a couple kids ahead of that made it on that team that my son has already performed better than and been ranked ahead of.
Okay.
By recruiting services, by the state, by publications.
Okay. Does that coach? Do you think that coach had any kind of personal vendetta against you or the kid or your young son?
I think they probably don't know who he is because certain names don't get allowed to rise to the top.
Well, I'm not going. I'm not here to argue other than just say that list that we get sometimes it may not be the list that you know of. These coaches.
So
I don't know that.
So here's the other rumor going around. These
Yes,
teams
sir.
actually picked in the summertime. When are these teams
That's not right.
picked?
That's not right. Yeah, we don't pick the teams in the summer. In fact, we don't even pick our play. I don't know if you've been listening to it. We don't even pick our coaches until March, and we don't even meet. The first meeting is not until July at our clinic.
And see that's even further justification that there's no reason why my son should not be on the team. And again, look, I'm sure the chat is going to blow up and everybody's going to be like, "This is just a Biloxi thing or whatever."
No, man. No. Look, I appreciate you, man.
Wrong is wrong, man.
Hey, I appreciate you, David. And again, I hope you understand. I have no agenda. If your son walked up here to me right now, I wouldn't know him, and neither would I know the other 4 or 5 offensive linemen they took. I don't know anybody, but again, I've sat through a lot of meetings with these coaches, and and I don't think, and I may be wrong again, like I was telling the host here, I don't know. I'd like to think that none of our coaches have an agenda to leave some kid out on a personal reason. And I like to think that they want to win the ball game. I don't think they're picking players not to win the ball game. Now, with you telling me that, I don't mind going back and investigating and looking and seeing, okay, why wasn't your son picked, or why wasn't he picked, or what school did you say he was at? Biloxi?
That Biloxi. We got a kid from North Mississippi that's an Under Armour All-American and doesn't make the game, doesn't make his own state's game, but he's going to Orlando to play in the Under Armour game.
Yeah, well,
like, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, if you start, again, I'm not going to get into you with that, but there's a lot of stuff going on that we know of from the back door that that goes on. But again, that's the whole nother situation.
We'll take that comment away. I just know I got a 4.0 student that reclassified from class of 27 to class of 26. He's graduating a year early. He garnered 24 offers in a single year from October last year to June of last year. He gained 24 offers from powerhouses like Alabama, Oklahoma, Florida State, Georgia Tech, North Carolina State, wherever you wanted to go, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, all those schools. Everybody's in the mix for him. And it's like he chooses Nebraska and then his own state forgets about him because he went to Nebraska instead of, which we're dang proud of. Go Huskers, go Big Red. We ain't changing our minds for nothing. Go Big Red. We're going to Nebraska. But the fact is, his own state, he gets more respect from a school that's 1,200 miles away from him, from fans that are 1,200 miles away from him, than he gets in his own state. And that's ludicrous, man.
Yeah. Well, then, again, David, and again, I'm going to take up for your son. He's not the first one that's ever done that. Like I was telling him, Garner Minshew didn't play in this game. I don't know whether you on the phone call. Garner Minshew played in the NFL. He wasn't even picked. He played in the Bernard Blackwood game.
Garner wasn't a 4-star prospect either.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's been other ones that are rated that hadn't been picked. But again, that's no excuse. I'm not making excuses like I started when it did. I'm not here trying to make excuses for anyone. I understand your frustration, and I get where you're coming from. And at this point, all I can say is that, and I don't mean this in any negative way, is that, hey, I'm sorry. I obviously I wish him luck. He may say the hell with it now. And was he picked for the Bernard Blackwell game?
He was.
Okay. Again, he may say the hell with that game and not play in the ball game. And if that's what he won't, that's what he does, fine. But I can tell you this: I've been doing this 24 years. I don't think anybody is out there trying to hurt someone intentionally. I really don't. And I may, you may prove me wrong on that. And again, I've been doing this 24 years, and there's always been cases to where, like I was telling him, there's going to be people that go down and they will have to turn around and pick up and other players, and he may end up having a chance. But again, I don't want to promise that. Again, I don't pick the team. I'm the one that just, I actually have to be the director. But I just know I'm on the other side of the fence. Look, I understand it. My son wasn't ready. My own son didn't make an all-star team. Neither one of them, And but again, that was the hardest drive to make home, to walk in my kitchen to tell my own wife that my own son didn't make it. So I get your frustration. I've been there and done that. Mine didn't even make the Bernard Blackwell game. So, but again, I understand your frustration, and all I can do is say, hey, I'm gonna do what I can to look into it and see if there was any kind of personal vendetta. If it is, I'll be the first to call you and say, hey, we screwed up. I mean, I don't mind doing that.
I mean, nobody got to admit that. I mean, that's the thing. There's nothing. Look, we're not trying to look for no handouts with the games that's picked.
Yeah,
it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
just
saying. Well, there needs to be some more transparency or something in this process, because when you got people all over the state texting me saying, "Man, how did Hayden make this? How did this happen?" I don't know. And that to me that's the question that needs to be answered. Show me the tape. Show me the scouting report. Show me something that says, "Hey, he's not as good as this kid." That's what he's been behind, because none of that exists.
Yeah. Well, I think it all boils down, David, is the guy that's coaching the team and the guy that's coaching the offensive line looked at the tape. And again, I don't want to talk for the coach because I don't know.
You can't prove he looked at the tape. You can't prove he didn't. You can't prove he did or he didn't.
Well, okay.
That's the problem.
All right. Well, I don't know how you say documentation, but I don't film them when they're watching film myself. But I can tell you they did look at film. So, But anyway, look, I appreciate you again. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm a man. I appreciate you coming on and manning up and talking to me. I have no, like I say, man. I have no agenda. I hope you respect me for calling the guy and getting on with you and telling you how it works and how the process is. Again, I have no agenda. I don't. I hope you respect. You know, that doesn't help the situation with your son. I understand that. But again, I know I'm not running from it, and you know I know that we try to do it the right way. We try to do it right way. We try to be upfront. We try to do that. I don't know that anybody that on my staff would not want to pick the best players to go win a ball game. But again, that's just the way I look at it, and that doesn't make it right in your eyes. I understand that, and nothing's going to make it right, and I get that. I promise you, I do. I understand.
Well, nobody's gonna fight for my kid harder than me. I don't care how much bigger than me he gets. I don't care how much more fame and notoriety he gets. I want him to have all those things, but I'm always gonna fight for my kid. And I know when wrong is wrong and right is right. And I know he was wrong. You won't find a finer human being than Hayden Ainsworth. You can ask his coaches that. You could ask
Yes.
Matt. Matt's seen enough video of him personally. You won't
Yes, sir.
find a finer human being than Hayden Ainsworth. And
Right.
when I feel like a dad when something's been done that's wrong, then I do appreciate you coming on and answering the
Yes,
question.
sir.
I do appreciate Matt letting me come through and jump on
Yes, sir.
because
Well,
it ain't right. So
yes.
nobody can change my mind on
Yeah.
that.
Well, so, and I understand that, and I respect you for that, and I hope you know that. And again, there's no hard feelings with me. If you think I'm gonna hang up and say, "Hey, man, who is this guy that called me and doing it?" I'm not. That's not me. I don't know that you know me well enough, but hey, that's not me. I respect you. I think you're a man to come up and talk to me and tell me how you feel and whatever, and I respect that. And again, I'm never gonna say anything negative about it, and I hope you understand the kind of person I am, and I hope you can would know that it's still not gonna. What I'm saying still not going to solve what happened or him not making that team. I get that. I understand that. Uh, but I do like the conversation with you. I like the dialogue we've had, and it's and I can I can do some stuff on my end to kind of revisit what we do. But maybe again, like you're talking about transparency and stuff. I mean, maybe there's something that we can do better from the office to be more transparent with what we do. That I'm not perfect and don't claim to be perfect or nothing, and but I just know, and I sincerely believe this, David. I know you don't want to hear this now. I sincerely believe that they thought, right or wrong, they thought they picked the best players to win a ball game. Now, that's not going to sit well because of your son being not one of those, and I respect that. And he may be. They may look back and say, "Hey, we screwed up. We should have picked your son," and man up and say that. So, but again, like I appreciate the dialogue with you. I appreciate you calling in. I appreciate you, Tim, having me and letting me have them input and kind of dialogue, kind of how this thing works, and you know. Certain rules and stuff that go on with the games. And, a lot of people don't understand, where we're limited and how many we can pick and how many in each position and all that. But, I get that. So,
Yeah,
but
we
I
certainly.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I know you have to run there. I know you're at a game
Yes,
there, Mr.
yes, sir.
Mims. So and I appreciate, like you say, with David coming on there and you
Yeah,
speaking to him.
yeah,
I know you had to
yeah,
go. You're at the game, so
yeah.
I'm glad to
Well,
be able to get David on and
yeah,
see if anything comes about it. But yeah, his
yeah,
son is pretty good. Yes, he made the South All-Star team,
yes, sir.
but still, we'll see what happens. But I certainly
I, under-
appreciate
I
Bill
understand.
coming on.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
I appreciate
Dave,
you, David.
yeah. And I appreciate you having me, David. I appreciate you coming on and voicing your opinion. And I hope you know I respect you with everything you said.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank
All
you
right.
for having me.
All right. Yes,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you, man. We'll have to get together another time. See we talk about it. So certainly brought a lot of light to the subject, and have a good evening. All right. So that was our special live stream with the executive director there, Johnny Mims from the MACC, Mississippi Athletic. So again, several ways that a player that you may think is on there that's not a coach could not be a member of the MACC, which is, I don't know how, that everybody should be a member of the MACC as far as coach wise. Coaches, he even said some of them don't nominate players. I couldn't get, of course, to say, hey, is there any teams on the coast that didn't nominate players? He didn't go as far as saying that. Or the player may be in trouble in school, be it grades, be it discipline, and you think, man, that player should have been on there, and he couldn't because of that reason of school issues there. But at least he said when they get the coaches in March, and then he took them all the way to deadline. It is picked the teams here and a couple of days ago. Mississippi coaches and the North-South coaches were all together, and they picked the teams. And he even said, depends on how the head coach is, how he wants to run the mindset, be it an offensive coach or defensive coach. If he likes this player that may not have better stats than this player, then he's going to pick the player that he thinks fits his scheme, is what Johnny was mentioning about. Jaden. So I appreciate everybody joining, and then David coming on. Hey, I was glad that he was able to say, hey, bring him on, because I know he was pushing on time because he's at a ball game, and I appreciate that he's able to join us. So appreciate everybody joining us, even on the rewatch of it. Post your questions, and we'll get them back on at some point. Game predictions coming on at 7 o'clock. I don't know if I'll come back and do a live stream on the release of the game predictions, but appreciate everybody joining us here for this special presentation of the All-Star process with Executive Director Johnny Mims. So I'm Matt Stats, Coach Football, and I'm out.